Hi, this is Rachel Goclawski, Cooking with Mrs. G, and I decided to rewild a little bit more of my yard this early spring. We had another patch of lawn that really didn't need to stay lawn. We do have kids and animals and stuff, so part of our yard is lawn, but we also have some forested areas and some wilder areas, and this area was lawn, but I wanted to see what would happen if I took this like sort of 12 by 14 foot area and just let it alone, stop mowing the lawn and things like that, and see what would grow. And it looks like we got about, at least a dozen wild species of plants that are edible, medicinal, or both, and very useful, that have just found themselves here. Plus, I introduced a few different plants that we really enjoy, that are also wild and do grow wild here in Massachusetts, to this space. So let's take a little inventory together and see what we found. So one of the things I was very excited to be able to do was to transplant some ostrich fern. There is a friend of mine, it has a historical house in Concord, who that's backyard is pretty much overrun with ostrich fern, because that fern was planted 100 years ago by her family, and she was trying to start a garden, and she needed to remove some of it from that space where she could grow some food. So this fern was doing really well when I transplanted it, and then there was a really bad windstorm and it did break some of the fronds. So I'm trying to just keep this group of ostrich ferns healthy, and hopefully they'll continue to be okay. The fronds that didn't break are very healthy. Up here we've got a witch hazel that is coming over the fence, and here's the little seed pods from last year. So I'm wondering if I'll get a witch hazel bush or tree growing here after these guys seed out. So that'll be interesting to see, because it's hanging right over the fence, so why wouldn't we get some seeds? So here's some poor man's pepper. Lots of that it's found its way in here. I didn't bring it in here. We've got some lady's thumb. Lady's thumb is an invasive great salad green, and there's a lot of that in there, so help give us some more salad greens. Wood sorrel, and here's some little baby lamb's quarters. Very, very nutritious, edible, and it gets everywhere, but very, very good for you and delicious. Here's some curly dock. So by the way, I'm not really going to forage any of this so much this year. I'm just going to let everything grow and reseed. And here we got some red clover. Some of it is flowering in the front. I brought some daylilies from that same woman's garden because she didn't want the daylilies. These are not native. They are invasive too, but they are a very good food. So we can eat the roots and the flowers and the shoots. And hitchhiking on that daylily from her garden, I got some goutweed as a little bonus surprise. So that's also great. Or bishop's elder, it's called as well. It doesn't do anything for gout, but it's it's also a good edible and herb. So here's some mouse ear chickweed. This is a very nutritious as well, and it's great for chickens and humans. So all of these plants ended up here. We're only at the end of May, beginning of June, and look at how many plants have established themselves just for one spring of not mowing. Oh, we got some mugwort, of course, another invasive, but also useful herb. It's great for the digestive system. It is a nice addition to any medicinal tea, and it'll give you some nice vivid dreams at night. So here's some more red clover, which is always great to have. Let's see what else. And over here we've got like a sunny little patch here with some more red clover, some white clover, which is good too. Oh, and one of my favorites is common mullein. A few common mullein plants are growing in here. Always a welcome sight. Again, I'm not going to forage these this year, just hoping that they'll establish themselves and seed themselves. And another interesting thing is I put up a little garden here in the front, and when I was doing that, I saw this plant here, and instead of pulling that out as a weed when I was, making my garden for lettuce and things, I left it there. And because I smelled it, it was very, very tiny, and it smelled like oregano to me, and I let it grow, and it looks like we have some wild catnip, so my cat's going to be excited about that. So it's interesting to see how quickly the wild has taken over this lawn space, this little part of my yard, how many different species have found themselves here just because the lawnmower isn't mowing here anymore. So try this at home if you can. If you're lucky enough to have a yard, try to let things establish themselves. Over here we've got some garlic mustard, another invasive I wouldn't really want to let take over. I had a lot of garlic mustard in the front. I have a lot of other wild spaces here in my yard. I've got some forests and things like that. But I wanted to reclaim a little bit more. And there was plenty of garlic mustard in the front that I had to pull by the road to try to keep that invasive at bay and keep it from spreading seeds. Anyway, so thanks for doing that inventory with me. This is Rachel Goclawski, Cooking with Mrs. G. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and on Etsy, and of course here on YouTube. Please hit subscribe. I'm looking forward to the mushrooming season coming up. I got a bunch of mushrooming videos already on here from previous years, and I'm hoping to add more. So go ahead and hit subscribe, and happy foraging.